Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Welcome back to FL Studio Week, aka Fleek. During this week, we're going to go over FL Studio 12 and how we can create a trap beat inside FL Studio 12. And after this week, we're even going to do more. So we're going to do more than just a trap beat. But we're so glad to bring you this series this week. So in the first video, you can click the link in the video, and that'll take you to the drums part 1, how to create the drum pattern that we have in the background here. I'll play it really quickly, just to give you an idea of what we started with. So we're creating a trap beat, which is one of the most popular styles of genre right now. And let's go to song mode, and we're gonna hit play. Now this guide is gonna be for the beginners who are using FL Studio 12. So we're gonna go through each step and explain why we're doing it. Okay, so with those drums, that gives us a foundation to move forward into the next step of music production. So we start with the drums. Now we're moving on to the chord stage. Now in the chord stage, we're going to be using a plugin called GMS, which comes with the producer edition. And we're going to program a sound and show you how to basically initiate the plugin so you could create your own sounds. And I'm going to show you how to create chords. I'm going to show you the exact notes and how to actually use them in the piano roll. So everything's going to be inside of FL Studio. We're not going to use a MIDI controller for this video, for those who don't have any. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is rename track 4 chords. And let's just give it maybe yellow, keep it bright. Now the chords that we want to focus on for trap are more clubby chords and darker chords. So you want to think minor chords, A minor, G minor, D minor, those type of chords will give you that darker feel. Now there's more about chords at BusyWorksBeats.com, but for now, let's just go to an empty pattern. We're going to click on the channel rack, go to pattern 7, which is empty in this case, and of course you're going to get the file download for the second part, which is part 2 chords, if you click that link below. We're not there yet. Okay, so let's hit this plus button. Now they made it easier to add plugins to the channel rack, which is great. We don't have to go up here anymore. We could just hit the plus button. And let's open up GMS. I find this is a quick plugin to use, and it's very simple once you understand sound design to navigate, and you can get good sounds fairly quickly. So the first thing we need to do inside of GMS is actually click Banks, and we're going to go to User. Under User, you're going to see a preset called Default, and that's going to initiate the plugin for us. So I couldn't find that when I first opened up GMS, and I had no idea where that was, so hopefully that helps somebody out there. Okay, so we're going to start off with what's called a sawtooth. Sawtooth is the most rich sound we can get when we create a pad. So to create a pad, all you have to do is just follow along. Just left click the voices. We're going to pull that up to about 8. Okay. After that, we're going to left click the stereo knob and pull that to about 80% or 0.8. Okay. And the detune knob, we're going to throw that around 40-ish or 30. So that's going to create a very wide sound. So let's X out. And remember, we have to send the sound to the mixer, which we haven't done yet. We're going to do that later once we compile all the sounds in the mixing stage. So we're not going to send anything to the mixer yet, but keep in mind that you want to watch the volume as you go on. So on the channel rack on pattern 7, we're going to start to program in our chords. Now what I like to do is just add a note here. It doesn't matter where you put it. You can put it up here if you want. Just add a note to activate pattern 7. Now what this is going to do is allow us to choose. Now if we go to the playlist button, it's going to allow us to choose when we right click that pattern icon, we can now select pattern 7. Whereas before, if it didn't have a note, we wouldn't have pattern 7 there as an option. Now what this allows us to do is paint in pattern 7 and drag it out. Now what this means is when I create the chords, I can hear them in context of the whole song as we build it in the playlist window. So all that means is I'm just going to drag it out for 4 bars, and I'm going to select, hit shift, and then left click and drag. Thank you for whoever told me that shortcut. Hit shift, left click and drag. That automatically duplicates the pattern, okay, in the playlist mode. So let's go back to the channel rack, and let's right click to delete that ghost note And now we can right click and go into piano roll. And here's where we're going to start building our chord progression that we're going to hear live in song mode as we go along. So we can right click any notes that you see here. Now, what does this mean? So I'm going to place a note here just to see what you know, or just to hear what it sounds like in context. See, now we can hear our chord progressions in context of the whole song now. Okay, so what we're going to do is start out with the easiest chord, well, not the easiest, but one of the easiest chords, A minor. So we're going to be working with all the white keys here, and we're going to start with the note A. We're going to drag that out for about one of these columns, actually 2 columns. Okay, and then we're going to add that to C. We're going to go A, C, E, all white notes. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, now what we want to do to get more of a trap feel is to give this a gated type of playing style. Now what this means is we're going to shorten the note length but make it play at least 4 times over in this time period. So instead of holding the chord, we're actually going to let it play 4 times. So to do that, I'm going to left click and drag to make this shorter in note length, and it's going to take up 2 of these spots. Now if you don't have your grid looking like this, you want to go to snap to grid and make sure you're on half step. Okay, snap to grid, the little magnet, go to half step. So now we're going to hit Control, we're going to left click and highlight that chord ACE, and we're going to hit Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And you can see now it pasted a copy of that chord. So now I can drag this chord over and leave a 2-note gap in between. Okay, so now we're starting to create a rhythm for our chords, which is going to be the meat of the chord. So the chord's going to help us with the movement of the track and make it more interesting. So we're going to hit Control C again, Control V to copy and paste, and we're going to drag the chords over here. Now these chords may seem simple, but we're going to create variations in the chord, which are going to make this chord sound very interesting. And I'm going to show you how to change up the timing as well. So I want the chords to go dun 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 dun. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's Control V, paste one more time. Now for the last section, I'm going to Control V again, and I'm going to delete this chord section, hit Control, left click, drag to highlight, and then hit delete. Now what I want to do here is add triplet notes. So I don't want these smaller notes, I want what's called triplet notes. Now to do that, we have to change our snap to grid to a 3rd beat. Now this is going to give us a different grid in the background. You can see now I have 3 basic blocks in the background for every column. Now what we can do is copy, Control C and paste, or if actually probably not best to copy and paste, you want to left click so that it locks to the grid. We're going to left click in the notes A, C, and E, and then we're going to do that 3 times. Now what I want to do for this last chord is actually not play A, C, E, but I want to play D and F for these 2 higher notes. So what I want to do is hit Control, left click and drag for the top 2 notes of this triplet chord section. We're going to left click and drag up to D and F. We're going to hit Control, left click and drag and pull this down. So now it feels like we're moving with the chords, and the rhythm changes so it keeps our ear interested. And then we can make this sound like a really cool chord progression. So this is really how easy it is when you understand chords and how chords can sound more effective in trap music. So let's continue the chord progression. So we're going to hit Control A now. We're going to hit Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And we're going to just drag the chord progression over. Now what happened is I have it on triplets, so the snap to grid. So before you do that, change your snap to grid to a half step. And we're going to hit just Control, left click and drag, Control C, Control V to copy and paste. And now we can drag it into the next bar. So we don't want the chords to continually play the same chord. So what we're going to do is change this, maybe these chords to maybe a lower chord. So let's hit Control, left click and grab. And I want to change these 3 chords to something lower. So I'm going to left click and drag until that top note is at D. So this is going to make the chord G major. This is a G minor chord. I'm going to show you how to change it to a G major. To do that, we don't want any sharp keys. Whenever you see the sharp sign, we don't want any sharp keys. So we're going to left click, drag, and then we're going to hit either shift up, or you can just left click and drag up 1. So it looks like I changed chords too early. What I'm going to do is resend that back to A minor, which is A, C, and E. So it goes 4 chord spikes at A minor, then we go to G major, and then I haven't decided what this last chord is going to be. Now it could be the same, this chord, but what I want to do is hit Control, left click and drag. I want to pull this whole structure down until we're at G as the root note down here. And again, you don't want to have any of these sharp notes in here. So we're going to left click and drag this up. Also, I want to change the rhythm of this chord to a triplet section. So what I'm going to do is hit Control, left click and drag, hit delete. We're going to go back to our snap to grid now and go to 1/3 beat. And we're just going to left click that note to get that note length. And we're going to left click the notes G, B, D. Now what I want to do, the C note is probably throwing it off. So I'm going to grab that C note and I'm going to drag it down to B. So this is where chords become more creative. You don't always have to use major, minor. This is where chords become very customized and unique. So I like that better. Okay, so that's a chord progression, and that's all we need for this song. Now we can continue, but I don't want to go too long with the chord progression. Okay, so you can continue on if you want, using that same formula. You start off with the minor chord, change your rhythms to maybe a triplet rhythm, and then you change your chord by lifting up a couple of those notes, and that leads you to a whole different chord. So we're going to left click and drag the note length, or the pattern length, shorter, and we're going to hit left click and Control, drag, and then we're going to hit Shift, left click and drag to duplicate. And let's hear this in context. Now what I'm going to do is go back to the plugin called GMS. So we're going to hit the channel rack, we're going to go back to GMS, and we're going to lower some parameters here. So I'm going to lower the sustain, and I'm going to lower the decay to about 0.6%, 60%. So it's at 40%, and we're going to increase the release to about 40%. So we get more of a pluck type sound instead of a sustain type of sound. Now if you really want to get unique, now remember you're going to get the project files just in case you get lost along the way, so no worries. What we're going to do is set the filter here. So this is a follow along type of thing. I can't really explain everything about it, but you can left click and lower the cutoff. So you can see the sound's kind of going away. And then we're going to increase the resonance. Now we're going to give the filter an envelope. So we're just going to lower the decay and increase the amount knob. Okay, so first we have to make sure this thing's working here. So I think the sound, I programmed it so it's so fast that you can barely hear the automation. So the decay has to be very low for this to work. So now you can hear it goes. Okay, that's the effect I'm going after. So we have the cutoff at about 50%, resonance at 50%, decay at about 25%, and the amount at 89. Now we want to turn the output up because we can barely hear it. I'm going to increase the release a little bit. So now we have that kind of Lil Wayne type of sound. So we're not going to get too fancy with sound design, but that's how you're going to make your chord sound completely different from, you know, sound selection plays a big role in how your chords sound. If this was a piano, it'd sound completely different. So now we can turn the beat up and really vibe out to the vibe. Now we haven't gotten to the mixing section yet. So that's where we're going to, you know, adjust the volumes of the kick drum, the hi-hat, the chords. Everything is going to fit better because right now I can hear the hi-hats loud, and we're going to turn that down during the mixing stage. So keep that in mind. We also have a lot of mixing to do in this beat. So some people might say, okay, that sounds like a great chord progression, but it sounds repetitive. So this is for the people who think that's repetitive. Okay, what we're going to do is add what's called a bass tone or a bass root note. So we're going to select pattern 7 in this case, and we're going to just left click and then left click it down here so that it's a duplicate of pattern 7. We're going to click this little piano option and go to make unique. This is basically going to clone pattern 7 into pattern 8. So now we can go to our channel rack view. And in pattern 8, we're going to left click on the MIDI. Okay, and now we're going to hit Control, left click and drag. And then we're going to hit Control C, Control V. So that's going to copy and paste. What we're going to do is left click and pull this back to overlap the old notes. Now we're going to hit Control down to transpose those notes down an octave. And what this does is it takes all these root notes and it drops it down an octave. So now we have a bass playing along with the main chord. It's going to sound a lot bigger now. So let's hear it again. Now what you can also do is move the bass notes. So you can choose to move your bass notes around or you can leave them the same. It's up to you. So that's how we get our chords to sound a lot thicker and bigger and more powerful. Now you can do this for a whole nother octave. So what you can do is hit Control, left click and drag, hit Control C, Control V. Make sure your notes are overlapping back where they were, and then hit Control down again. So now we have a really subby bass tone. And now we're getting into that kind of house electronic music feel, okay, because their chords are so big. So now let's X out of the piano roll. And we're going to use pattern 8 for the last, 8 bars. We're going to right click and delete all these pattern 7s. We're just going to pull pattern 8 up here. We're going to shift, left click. Thank you for whoever showed me that shortcut. I'll find the YouTube comment, and we're going to hit shift, left click again to duplicate. So now that changes pattern 7 from pattern 8. Okay, so there's a difference now, so it's less repetitive. All right, so that's what chords can do for your song, and chords are the musical foundation for the rest of the song. Now remember, we start with the rhythm or the drums, which we did in part 1. This video was about the chords, or setting the musical foundation of the song. Our next video is going to be about the melody. How do we introduce melody, and how do we, what sounds do we use to make it sound trappy, basically. Okay, then we're going to move on to the bass, or the 808 bass, how to tune it, and how to, incorporate it properly in your song. And then after that, we're going to show you how to mix the beat. Okay, so you get a complete picture of how you can start out making beats in FL Studio 12, even as a beginner. Now, if you go through this video again and pause the video when you hear a new step and apply the step, you're going to start building good patterns and good habits, because the habits I show you here have been built over a long period of time. And I'm saving you from all the bad habits that come about producers who don't set good habits because they weren't exposed to the good habits. Okay, so hopefully this increases your workflow. Hopefully this guides you through your music production, and hopefully this gave you more insight about what chords are all about. Okay, so what you want to do is click that link below for this free project file for part 1, part 2, and also all the bonuses that are going to come this week for Fleek, because Fleek is FL Studio Week at busyworksbeats.com, and we have a great product coming out in about a week. So we're giving you these free videos to really give you a lot of value and show you what Fleek's all about. Okay, so thank you for watching today. Please share with your friends if you think this can help them, and please like the video so we can help a lot of people. And thank you for watching today, and please subscribe if you're new. It's busyworksbeats.com.